Hi everyone, Chad Burton here with another video in the ABA series on how to effectively work remote in light of the current pandemic crisis. The following video is going to dive into the inner workings of Zoom for video conferencing. I've mentioned it in previous videos as one of the tech darlings of the pandemic, where people across the world are starting to use Zoom if they haven't for the first time and getting used to spending a lot of their day on video conferencing. So this video is going to provide an introduction to Zoom and dive into its features so that you can use it more effectively as you work remote and collaborate with your team. Now, before we get started, I'm going to show you a demo of what the app looks like on an iPad. It looks very similar to a Mac, an iPhone, and Android PC. The features are the same. They just may look a little different because of the operating system. But before you use Zoom, make sure you spend time to download it and get used to it. Oftentimes people will have a 12 o'clock call and at 11:59 go to log in and think that you can just magically click on a link and Zoom will work. You need to spend the time to download the app, get it set up, decide whether you want video on or not, and just spend some time with it. So don't make it as a last minute call before you jump into a Zoom meeting. And with that, let's jump in. Here is the Zoom app. Again, this will look different depending upon your particular operating system, but the general features are there regardless of what you're using. Zoom has done a really nice job with their mobile apps so that if you're using it on your phone, it is just as robust as if you're using it on a computer, which is not always the case. It's very simple and clean. You can see here where you can start meetings, schedule meetings so that calendar invites get sent out to the participants. You can just join in a meeting. Real basic, depending upon how much you want to engage with its features. Before any of the features, thinking about using any of the features, there are two things I want you to do. Once you've downloaded this app, I want you to, one, experiment with it. Try out starting meetings and making sure that your microphone and your video work. And then you can explore the rest of it. But start out making sure that occurs, because I'll tell you that right now, I feel like I'm spending the first 5 minutes of every meeting dealing with people not knowing how to use it. And that's okay. It's not critical necessarily, but can you imagine if you're on Zoom all day and you're in back-to-back meetings because we're all now forced to be remote, that if you're spending all this time troubleshooting, there's a learning curve, absolutely. But something you can do to ensure that your video conferences are as smooth as possible is making sure that your tech is working. That's why you download it ahead of time and ask for help if it's not working for you. The settings feature on Zoom, you can see where you can put all kinds of defaults in place. You can make sure that your microphone is muted ahead of time. You can touch up your appearance if the quarantine is dragging you down a bit. You can make sure that your video is off right away so that when you log into Zoom, you can control when to turn on that video. So lots of bells and whistles that you can use for purposes of customizing Zoom to its full potential. Before starting a meeting, I want to show you one other feature, which is the chat feature. This is commonly used during video conferences to share links, to let people know you'll be back in a second if you need to walk away from your computer without interrupting the flow of conversation. Lots of uses. I will tell you that if Zoom tracks the data on chats, I'm willing to bet that a vast majority of those are, hey, Frank, we can't hear you. Hey, Sally, your video is not on. That happens all the time, and that's okay. It's a good way to communicate it, because oftentimes people are sitting on video talking and nobody can hear them because their mic is muted or isn't working. So that's where a lot of chats happen. Really helpful for that purpose. But everybody watching this is going to be ahead of the curve and have their microphone and video working right away. So you won't have that problem. Let's start a new meeting. Again, you can choose to have the video on or off. If you have a paid account, an upgraded account, you can have a personal ID. This is an ID that I use, and I don't have to guess at what the unique link that Zoom creates every time is going to be. I can just hand this out and use it in a much easier fashion. But just like that, you click start a meeting. We're going no video because if I turned on video, you would be watching me talk to myself here, and we don't need that kind of meta engagement right now. Once you connect, you will see that you can join via phone or connect with your computer's audio. Make this choice based on your home Wi-Fi connection or office internet connection. A lot of people are experiencing challenges with that issue of their home broadband has been needed to be upgraded for years, and all of a sudden it's being used by a bunch of family members at once and it's overly taxed. The video will take up a decent amount of broadband. So if you're having challenges with that, you can always keep the video off and dial in to Zoom, or just use your computer's audio. If you are off video, you can do this where you have your picture posted versus the static default Zoom icon. When you're in a meeting, this mute button is your friend. When there's a lot of talk about video conferencing etiquette all of a sudden, where people are trying to instruct how best practices to use Zoom as a professional, and absolutely that exists, and you've got to know your audience. But at the same time, people are being really cool about the fact that you may have kids stuck at home because they can't go to school, pets. This is not normal working environment for people. So if you have folks that are struggling with those issues, your job is to really be cool about it and understand that this is taking an adjustment. But turn off the sound if things are getting out of control. That's a very helpful feature. Participants, again, going to this theory about making sure your mics are working and your video is working if necessary. When you see the participants, one, you can see who is on the Zoom call, just to make sure the right people are there before you get started. If people are struggling, if their microphone isn't connected, they won't have a picture of a microphone there, and so you can help guide them through that. Real helpful feature you'll see down in the bottom right of that drop down is muting. You can mute individuals, you can mute everyone. It's really helpful, especially if things get loud but maybe the people don't know it, or so that's a helpful feature on that front. Under the More drop down, a couple features to identify here. One, you can record all of your video conferencing either to the cloud or locally to your computer. And if you are working in an environment where maybe the background isn't ideal, there's a virtual background feature that will put either some stock photos such as the Golden Gate Bridge, or you can add your own. I've seen some where people are creating an image for background where maybe it's a pleasant color and their logo, their company logo behind that. So great way to mask a household that is exploding through quarantine, or just for fun and enjoyment on that front. Last thing I want to get into here on when you're in a video conference, there's screen sharing of content. Here you can share your screen to collaborate on documents, reviewing contracts with a client, really just about anything, reviewing technology, training. The sharing of your screens is really helpful on that front, especially if you have a lot of folks that are trying to learn new technology during this process. One other thing on the recording front that I didn't mention that's worthwhile is that you can use Zoom not only for video conferencing, but also think about it from the standpoint of making video recordings to send to clients, instructing them on what's going on, sending training materials to your team. So somebody from your team that needs to train people on new time and billing software can record the video on Zoom and send it out to the team. The way Zoom does this is kind of cool. You can have your traditional video with sound and the images, but it will also split up the files into a sound file. So if you are creating marketing materials in the form of educational resources for existing or potential clients, you can also turn the sound into podcasts. So that's really cool in the sense that you don't have to have separate software to make that happen. Zoom is doing that for you. Along the lines of creatively using Zoom, take a look at zoom.us, which is their website. Yes, there's video conferencing like we're going through today. However, they also have some other products. For example, they have something with conference rooms where you can actually have multiple, like you have private conference rooms, so you can put people into certain rooms and they can't hear what's going on in the others. This is a great way to conduct effectively online mediation when courts are closed or we're supposed to be staying out of office space. You can go ahead and set up multiple quote unquote conference rooms, put the parties in their own room, and the mediator can bounce back and forth. So if you're a mediator looking at a way to keep your business going, great. If you're a party that's trying to get a case to resolution, especially because maybe it's a divorce case and the significant others are in the same house together and need some resolution on that, or businesses are in a dispute and with some downtime they really want to get things resolved. This is a way that you can encourage everyone to go online and move cases along despite courts being shut down and the need for social distancing. Last thing here on features, once you're done with a meeting, if you're the host of that meeting and you started it, you can click end meeting and it will cut everyone off, or you can just leave the meeting. If you are not the host, leaving the meeting obviously removes you from it. If you are the host and you're done and maybe the rest of the people need to keep talking, simply leave the meeting and let them finish the discussion. One note on the difference between paid versus free. A free account, you can, they're limiting the number of people you can add to a meeting. Typically that's not an issue, but the main thing is with a free account, you can only, your meetings will cut off video conferences will cut off after 40 minutes. So you have 40 minutes of talk time per meeting. Just need to be aware of that if you go free. It's worth the upgrade. You can check out the site for the particular costs for your circumstances, but you're going to run out of time. And if you're spending lots of time with your team, clients, and others on Zoom, it's worth the upgrade so you don't get cut off. On the flip side, if you want an excuse to end meetings quickly, maybe you stay free so that it always cuts off after 40 minutes and you're self-limiting on that front. So with that, let's end this meeting. Back to our home screen, closing out Zoom. So obviously this is a tool to help you stay connected. And as we talked about in a previous video, right now connection with your team within your law firm is just as important as helping them use new technology or engage with your existing technology. This is a quick way for you to connect with them on a regular basis and make sure that they have all their questions asked, help put them at ease in the transition, because as this goes on, people are going to feel more shut in and disconnected from the world. So using a tool like video conferencing such as Zoom is going to be super helpful for purposes of you maintaining your team. Thank you for your time. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave those below or reach out. And we look forward to you engaging with us on future videos in this series.